Hello, my noble band of outlaws. Outlaw Samurai coming at you live with a video. This is for Tones 1. One of two videos I'm going to make for him, as he has requested them. So, this first one is about basic katana maintenance, since he has just officially bought his first katana and will be joining our ranks of backyard cutters very soon. Now, what I have here is basically an amalgamational kit of things that I have acquired over the course of owning swords. But I'm going to just basically be getting out the most basic of tools. Starting with a cleaning liquid. I recommend classic WD-40. Alright. This is the be-all, end-all, basically, of cleaning off metal. And it works. This will allow you to get pretty much any kind of sticky fruit residues, residues in general, from like cutting bamboo to Tommy mats. Quick little spritz of this and a few wipes of a Bounty paper towel. The scratches from cutting these things, they will remain, but that's what some of these other items are for. So a good cleaner like WD-40 or your choice of metal cleaner. Next, we have to open the kit itself, because we're going to want some form of sharpening apparatus. Personally, I use the Work Sharp. It is a bit pricey at around anywhere between $70 and $100, but once you buy a Work Sharp, you will never need to buy another sharpening apparatus unless it is for field use. And even then, Work Sharp comes with its own field sharpeners. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I'm not endorsed by them. I'm just saying that this is basically the best thing I've ever found to sharpen my blades. Now, it's a little tricky, but when it comes to buying the belts, what you want to do is you want to buy the replacement kit that does not say Canned Onion Edition. The Canned Onion Edition is actually a bit bigger and wider than these, and also comes with an extra fine stropping belt. The kit comes with 6 belts altogether. You have an 80 grit, which is the green one, a 250 grit, which is the red one, and a 6000 honing belt, which is the purple one. If you're going to start from sharpening from scratch on up, I recommend, if it's an extremely dull blade like butter knife level, 10 passes, 5 on each side with the green one, and then you want to do, just a moment, sorry, interruptions in the outside, but about 5 to 6 passes with the red one, and then you want to do about, I'd say 3 to 4 passes on each side with the purple one, just to kind of hone everything up and distractions abound. Now, I don't know about the newer Model 2 Work Sharp, but the one I have comes with 2 guides. A field knife guide, which has an angle of 50 degrees, which is usually most sword edges that I have found. And then you have this finer kitchen knife guide that puts the edge angle at 40 degrees. It also comes with a 65-degree scissor sharpening attachment. This is the part that the belt screws on. This is a little knob that lets you adjust the belt angle. This is the Work Sharp itself. Now I will show you, if you're inclined, how to assemble it. As soon as I find There it is. Now what you want to do is, there's this little switch right here. Pull that back. Place it on so like this. Line this switch up with this notch, then turn once until you hear it click, and it should position like this. Then simply place your preferred guide on like so. With the field knife guide, you can actually take the belts out while it's on there. The kitchen knife guide, not so much. And to put a belt on is simple. Push down and turn counterclockwise. It locks the belt in position. I like to look for this little red tab and put that on top of the ball, and then just kind of work the belt into this groove. Turn, and before I do anything, well, this is plugged in, I'll give it a couple little pulls on the trigger to kind of center the belt. It lets me know if the belt is centered, or if it's not on there all the way, the belt will start to slide off. Now obviously you can also use whetstones, sharpening stones, etc., what you may have on hand. It's just I have much more readily available access to the work sharp. Next, I have to take out this mini kit. This is a mini box of supplies that I have for basic katana maintenance. This is what is called a choji ball. Tone 1. What this does is that when you go to clean your katana, when you're wanting to take the old oil off, you'll dab, 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 dab. Doing this on a differentially hardened blade a lot will actually hurt the blade, but since this is a mono-hardened mono steel, it won't. So basically, let's say that this sword was covered in old oil and you're wanting to replace the oil. You just dab, 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 dab along both sides of the sword. Then once you have finished your dabbing, for lack of a better term, just a moment. Alright, so once you finish dabbing, you basically just take a cloth, or in this case a paper towel, and wipe off the choji oil with the powder. Choji oil being the traditional oil used for katana maintenance, but really any mineral-based oil like baby oil will work. And if you're wondering, this is a vial of choji oil. I never actually use this, just simply because where I live, and here's the thing, you don't need to keep a sword completely oiled up. As long as you keep the steel clean and dry, it won't rust. That's a personal thing that I found, at least in the climate that I live in. I have never really had to cover my swords with oil. In fact, every time I've left my swords covered in oil, I've actually had to clean the rust off of them. Rust actually builds, and I've had to clean it off. I believe it may be the type of oil I was using, it may have been something else that I did wrong, but I found as long as I keep my swords clean and dry, and in their scabbards, they don't accumulate rust. Next, now that I've shown you the choji ball, and honestly, all you really have to do, toe one, is go on to Amazon or even back to Cult of Athena. They have a sword maintenance kit with a choji ball and everything like that already pre-sold, which, yeah, there's like this meme of haha cleaning. You get a cleaning kit with your sword, big deal. You're never going to use it anyways, and yeah, we end up using a lot of the pieces. And most of us end up adding shit to the cleaning kit ourselves. Next, keep in mind this is not a overall review of my cleaning kit. I'm just giving you some basic ideas. Wooden dowels. Cheap wooden dowels that, believe it or not, the thing you'll be replacing most of the time on a katana is actually the makugi pins because they're the weakest. You can get dowels that are the same size and just kind of saw off to length. Or sometimes, like in the case with me, I like to carve mine to fit because I like to keep them a little thicker than the holes so that when I hammer them in, it kind of locks the blade in. So just simple wooden dowels would also be useful. Next, and keep in mind the katana cleaning kit will come with these, but you're going to want something to help you remove the makugi pin. I just use a simple nail punch that I rounded off on the work sharp and a deadfall hammer. The cleaning kits will come with little brass hammers, but the way I like to use this is that I'll get it started and then I'll hold it like so on the katana between my two fingers, and I'll actually keep my middle and ring finger underneath the makugi peg so I can kind of pinch the makugi peg as I go through so I don't drop it. So, basic recap. Something to remove the makugi pegs, something to sharpen your blades, and something to clean them off after you're done cutting. In my case, WD-40. But there's two other things that really are optional with a work sharp, since I don't really feel you absolutely need them if you do use the belt sharpener, is a strop. I made this with a couple of things. I went to my local handicraft store and just super glued a piece of leather down to this wooden board. I don't use any compound simply because I think I use too much compound when I actually do bother to use it. I tend to use too much compound when I strop. So I just use plain leather, and plain leather works well as well. What the strop really does is just it gets that micro burr off the edge and gives that edge just a little extra bite. So you want to be careful. Space Ghost kind of taught me how to do this. If you push too hard on the leather, you'll actually dull the blade more than sharpening it. So you want to be very gingerly and pull the blade back. The edge going this way, if my fingertips are the edge, then you want to just pull the edge back, like so. And you just want to work your way down, not pushing too hard. You don't have to make a strop like this. It's just, this was the easiest and biggest, flattest piece of wood I could find that would work as a strop in my local handicraft store. And finally, I think this is one of the major reasons why my swords don't rust when I just leave them dry, is because I use an automotive polish. This is Megoria's, since 1901, Mirror Glaze 83 Professional Dual Action Cleaner / Polish. Removes light to medium swirl stains and oxidation. Combines abrasive cleaner and pure rich polish for deep gloss shine. Effective buffed abrasives. Cleaning removes defects without marring the finish. Safe for finish including clear coats. So, this basically... Sorry about that, I had to move away from the noise in the background. But yes, I got this in my local Harbor Freight. You may be able to buy it off of Amazon as well, Tone 1. But this works very well for getting scratches, scuffs, and overall just cleaning what the WD-40 can't get off. Just squirt a little on. I've found lately that it works best by working it in with your finger, because it kind of allows you to directly apply pressure to the blade. And before anyone says anything, no, this does not actually dull my blade because I don't actually touch the edge with it. Oh, so that's what happened to the Joji Bow. And finally, super glue. This is an amazing little multi-purpose tool for sword maintenance. And just a moment. Don't you just hate telemarketers? Now, go through the air. Morgantown, no one cares, and I don't. Now, as I was trying to say, what super glue does is basically a multi-purpose thing. Not only does it allow you to re-secure loose fittings like a kashira or even a fushira, but if your sword is a little loose in its koiguchi fit, and this is something Matthew Jensen calls his Gorilla Glue fix, I just call it super glue fix, what you want to do is you'll want to add just a thin line of super glue to one of the sides of the koiguchi. What that does is that it basically makes the koiguchi mouth narrower so that when you resheath the sword, the habaki does not have as much clearance. Now, you want to be very, very gingerly, because if you add too much, then once it dries, you have to go in and kind of sand it, and if you sand off too much, then you'll have to reapply. General rule of thumb is basically once you put down a little bead, you want to kind of thin it out with like a toothpick or maybe a popsicle stick. Now, there's one last thing that you could add, and that is a makugi knife. And what I mean by a makugi knife is a knife specifically to carve the makugi pegs. I like this one right here. This is the Guidesman Alpine. You can buy these at your local Menards for about $10. And it is a very slicey knife. Now, I like to use poplar because it's cheap and easy to carve. Do not use oak. Oak has an enzyme in it that will actually cause has an enzyme in it that will cause the metal to rust. But yeah, that's basically all you need. Knife to carve the makugi peg, some extra makugi pegs, a good polish if you'd like, super glue, a means of sharpening your blades, and a blade cleaner like WD-40. Now, I actually have a lot of extra shit in my sword maintenance toolbox, I guess you would call it, but that is a much more in-depth thing. These are just basics for anyone really wanting to do work on their swords, and just a basic maintenance kit. A lot of which I assume you would probably already have around your house, like the WD-40, maybe a carving knife, some super glue. Then all you really need is a sharpening apparatus and a polish. Right? With most, and here's the thing, with most mono-hardened blades, you really don't need a Koijo, something. You don't need a powder ball. Is basically what I'm saying for a lot of modern swords, especially since the powder ball is really there mainly to remove old oil. Unless you're in an area where you need to keep your blades coated in oil, you won't need a choji ball. That's what I was trying to think of, a choji ball. But I hope you found this interesting, Tone 1. Look forward to the next video, which will be a video on how to disassemble your katana, because I don't want to make this a 30+ minute video. So until next time, I'm out, peace, and I thank all you noble band of outlaws for tuning in.